So welcome everybody to Cayman Connection's Meet the Representative. The first time we have done this kind of event, so I'm delighted about that. Previous years we haven't had the technology or knowledge to be able to do this, so some of the benefits of COVID, if there are any, are the way that we can do this kind of thing. So I just wanted to say welcome from Cayman Connection. Tell you a little bit about Cayman Connection, who we are for those of you who don't know. I think most do. Pass on to my fabulous co-director, Jennifer Dilbert, for hosting of the new representative, Dr. Tasha Garcia Ebanks. So we will just hear a little bit from both the director and Dr. Tasha. There'll be opportunity to have a little bit of conversation, a little bit of chat, see what's on your mind, see how you understand the office, what the office can do for you as members. And also if you have any questions for Dr. Tasha about the Cayman Islands Government Office in the UK, or indeed any situation that you have within reason. And between us, we will try and answer your questions. So thanks so much for coming along. I'll start just with a little brief about Cayman Connection. Cayman Connection is a network for Caymanians across the globe, initially starting in the UK alongside the Cayman Islands Government Office and the Department of Tourism. We have over 1,000 members at the moment, a lot of whom are in the UK, but I'm delighted to say that we are branching out into the States, to the US and Canada. And I'm pleased that Paula Jackson is able to join us today, who is taking on the role of Regional Manager in the States. We'll be looking to expand to Canada thereafter. We also have Rita Estevanovic here, who is our regional manager for the UK as well for Cayman Connection. So we really like to just encourage Caymanians who are overseas to join the network, engage with us, let us know what we can do for you. We also have members who aren't necessarily Caymanian, but have a huge passion for the Cayman Islands and have associations or connections. The network it meets every week on a Wednesday for those who might need some support or conversation. And we bring in various different speakers to speak with us and share knowledge and expertise. We also do mentoring, community events, and we just really like to be there to engage with you. So thank you for joining us. And if you know anyone else who might benefit from the network, please do let them know. It's a very easy sign-up process online, so send them to caymanconnection.org. So I'll first pass to Jennifer. Jennifer Dilbert, MBE, is the former Cayman Islands Government Representative in the UK, who I had the pleasure of working with for some time. She led the CIGO-UK from 2000 to 2008. During this time, Jennifer established the Friends of Cayman group and started the student database of Caymanians overseas. So really was sort of instigator in the early days of getting networks together. So Jennifer was also instrumental in the changing of the law enabling British Overseas Territory citizens to obtain a British passport, which was obviously a major factor in moving things ahead for relations between the UK and the Cayman Islands. She also helped to establish Cayman students being eligible for home fees. So both of these are pretty major developments. So thank you, Jennifer. Jennifer returned to the Cayman Islands after her tenure as representative to take on the role of Information Commissioner, opening the new Information Commissioner's Office in the country. And that was the precursor to the Ombudsman Office now. Jennifer's now retired and has taken on the role of Director for Cayman Connection in the Cayman Islands, which is fabulous for us, and we're very happy to have her on board. Jennifer's also on the boards of various entities in Cayman, including the National Gallery and CUC, and is involved in extensive community work as JP and through various programs of the United Church, of which she is board member and secretary. So thank you, Jennifer. I'm going to pass to you, and then we will do an introduction for Dr. Tasha. Thanks, Jennifer.
Okay, thank you so much, Kate. And it's absolutely wonderful to see some of you, so many of you. Yeah, just a bit about the office, I suppose, and our foundation for Cayman Connection. When I was in the UK, I think one of the main things that I wanted to do as the Cayman Islands Government Office was to have that office as a home base for Caymanians in the UK. So, you know, students in particular were welcome to come by, and they just come and hang out if they were, you know, living outside of London or even within London. And you're going to hear me say this phrase a lot, but back in that day, they would the students would even come to use their computers or telephones to connect with home or work, do homework or whatever, because not everyone was walking around on their phones and iPads and stuff. So that was pretty important for some students. And I think maybe it helped a bit that we had a supply of K-brew and rum cakes. Not sure, but maybe. We were very kindly supplied, as I see they're sponsored for Cayman Connection by K-brew and Tortuga. So that was always fun as well. And we started also the receptions, the annual receptions for Cayman Islands students. And this was, of course, supported by the Minister of Education, and they would come over and be a part of that reception. And we would get students together from all around the UK for an event in the office. And that database and maintaining that, as Kate said, then led into what is now Cayman Connection, which I am extremely excited about. It's just so much fun to see you all getting connected. It was difficult before, and you'd sort of come to a reception and say to each other, "I didn't know you were here," etc., etc. And now this is just a wonderful way of staying in touch, keeping in touch, finding out who's around, and supporting others and getting support for yourselves. So I just do encourage you to, as Kate did, to just tell all your friends and family. And if you, as I have been doing over the last few days, if you start going through your contact list, then you realize that almost everyone that has some connection to another country somewhere. So whether it's a friend, a parent, or you have family or friends in around the world. So it's just wonderful that we can be reaching out to these people. And of course, with Cayman now expanding out now and going to have a US rep and an Asia rep and we don't have a Canadian rep, but you have Cayman Connection in Canada. That just leads and makes it a bit easier for us all to stay connected. And we are entering hurricane season, and I have to say that during hurricanes was one of the times that my office was really, really busy, because we had to be giving out information to students and and back to their parents and making sure everyone was okay. And we don't even want to talk about Ivan, but that was also obviously a difficult time, and the office played a pivotal role there. So this is just wonderful that we can be connected in this way. I don't really want to say too much more about myself. I'm so excited to introduce you all to Dr. Tasha Ebanks Garcia, and we're just really excited about having you in London, either physically or virtually whenever you get there, Dr. Tasha, and hearing from you what your plans are, how you're going to help Cayman Connection, and how we can help you. And so, yes, really over to you, and just introducing those of you who don't already know, but Dr. Tasha Ebanks Garcia is the new Cayman Islands Government Representative to the UK. She will be traveling to the UK physically soon. She'll tell us when. And I guess plans for reopening the office and that sort of thing. So over to you, Dr. Tasha, and welcome.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. And I guess thank you for all the work that you've done and continue to do that's enabled the London office to be a value, not just from a government ministerial perspective, but also to our community in the UK and our community here as well. And I'm very blessed to see so many faces, many of whom I recognize. I even see a family member, hey, Jana. So nice to know I've even got not just friends, but family in the UK that I'll be coming over to see. We've got flights booked. Thankfully, we were able to get on the direct flight. It was kind of touch and go for a while. I thought we were gonna have to go through Miami, but my kids and I are coming up. We leave here on July 8th, and my husband will deal with some of our affairs here and follow after. The initial posting is for 5 years. So the plan is to be there for a little bit. And after the 5 years, then, look at what the government would like me to do next. I guess just a little bit of background. Some of you I know, but I think many of you don't, may not know what I've been doing, certainly of late. And so just to kind of give you a bit of background on me, I joined the government in 2013. I joined as a deputy chief officer in the Ministry of, the then Ministry of Employment, education, employment, and gender affairs, and I was the deputy chief officer with responsibility for employment, library services, and tertiary education strategy. Worked in that area and predominantly working around supporting with policy around employment. And at around 2014, the Office of the Deputy Governor set up a new unit called the Strategic Reforms Implementation Unit, SRIU, and it was established to deliver projects on behalf of the Governor and Deputy Governor, policy areas that cut across the government and initiatives that required kind of a collaborative effort across the government. So we were able to kind of bring people together into a safe collaborative space where cross ministries, cross departments, people from all areas of our government came together to deliver national priorities. So I've been able to, that's kind of my predominant work has been in that area since about 2014. And that was my last posting. A couple of key policy areas that I've worked in that have become very near and dear to me. One is child safeguarding. So we've done a tremendous amount of work in that policy space, developing the governance structure for child safeguarding in the Cayman Islands, setting up the child safeguarding infrastructure to deliver child safeguarding reviews, and even conducted our first child safeguarding review here. Part of that work I'm looking to bring with me to London. So some of the work that we've been doing across the OTs over the past couple of years is looking at how to collaborate more in policy spaces where we have common challenges. So child safeguarding is certainly one of those areas. So working with the FCDO and working with the representatives from the other OTs, we've been looking at developing a framework for collaborative work in the child safeguarding space across the OTs. So I'm looking to bring that and continue that, and through my role on UCATA, working with the representatives for the other OTs, looking at how we can leverage the synergies across the OTs, reduce duplications across the OTs, and really kind of capitalize on the opportunity that we have to work collectively. Another area that I've done quite a bit of work in and that's important to me is in the area of prisons. Developing the independent monitoring board for our prisons in the Cayman Islands, located on Grand Cayman, but for our 2 prisons and places of detention, and looking at working, again, we've been working with the FCDO, looking at standards for prisons across the OTs, and so continuing that work in my post as representative. So those are kind of 2 policy areas that are really important to me that I look to continue working on when I get to the UK. And certainly in my initial conversations with the FCDO, they're quite excited and very happy that I'm looking at kind of bringing this work over there and looking at kind of bringing the OTs a little closer together in some of those policy spaces. My last posting and last bit of work that I did for the government was to lead the team that developed, set up, and operationalized Travel Cayman. So it is our process, our policy, our infrastructure for enabling persons to come into the Cayman Islands in this time of COVID. I got the phone call on July 24th, and I always remember it because it was my birthday and it was a day off, but I was told, happy birthday, and we need to have a conversation because there's some stuff that we need your support on. And so the call came in July 24th, and October 1st, we had our first flight that landed under Travel Cayman. And so in that very short period of time, we had to build the infrastructure, develop policies and processes, create teams that did inspections, because on October 1st, people were going to be able to go home and quarantine in their own homes. We had to have an IT system built that we had to outsource the building of, hiring of people. So it was a tremendous amount of work that happened over a very short period of time. And it really happened through the combined efforts of a number of stakeholders. And it was really, I think for me, the most proudest thing coming out of Travel Cayman is watching both the civil service and the public sector coming together, as well as the private sector. We had private sector partners that joined us, coming together and delivering this massive program. And I don't think people on the outside don't appreciate how big it is. We have, in order to operate Travel Cayman in its current state right now with the current policy arrangements, we need 80 people. And that 80 people does not include all the people at HSA that are doing the PCR test and the rival PCR test. It doesn't include all of the Customs and Border Control staff that are managing the borders at the airport and processing people coming into our country. It doesn't include all the people that work for the Airports Authority and CAA. It only includes the core Travel Cayman people. So that's 80 people at the core with all of these teams around it. So it's a huge amount of people and work and effort. And it could only have happened by people coming together. And I think it's such a proud moment for our country and for our civil service and public service, because it did happen through the combined efforts of everybody working together. And I think it really proved and underscored the point that we can work collaboratively. We talk about silos in government and silos in the public sector, but that we really absolutely shattered those silos through this work and brought people together. And I think it demonstrates, and I think it will set the stage for the next time we're looking to work collaboratively. And I hope that we'll be able to draw on this experience. So that's kind of the last big piece of work that I did. And on May 1st, I was appointed to this post, and I'm absolutely thrilled. Over the past, since May 1st, I've been really working on kind of creating, kind of building on what is already there in the London office, building on the platform that's been established, and looking at how to refine and improve and grow and evolve what's there to better meet the needs of our stakeholders. So a lot of the work that I've been doing since I'm still in the Cayman Islands is meeting with chief officers and other stakeholders to ask the question, how can the London office be an extension of your ministry? How can we add value to the government by being an extension of the government in the UK? What does that look like? How can we support? What would be meaningful? And we've had some really, really great conversations with chief officers, really kind of looking at what exactly our contribution is going to be and how we can be an extension of their ministry. And it's certainly been a welcome conversation. They've welcomed the invitation, and that's going to kind of form or inform a good section of the work that the London office delivers as an extension of the government in London, in the UK. The other big piece, and have started working with Kate and others on this, is really looking at then what is the London office to our community in the UK, and how do we engage, and how do we provide support, and what are the needs? And so one of the things that I'll certainly be looking to do once I get to the other side of this pond is to engage with our community in the UK more, to ask the same questions that I'm asking of the chief officers and senior civil servants here. And that's the question, how can we be of service to you? How can we increase our value to you, to your families, to your community? And you know, what is that connection, and how can we provide support? And so I'm really looking forward to having those conversations with all of you when I get to the other side of the pond, and hopefully we can have those conversations in person, because I don't know about you, but I'm a bit Zoom fatigued. And so it'll be nice to actually see people in person and be able to interact. And so that's something certainly through Kate, looking to organize some kind of engagements where we can talk about what else can the London office be doing to help you and support you. So I think kind of that's in a nutshell, kind of what I've been doing and where things are at. I don't know if anybody has any questions. I know I've just talked a lot.
Thank you, Dr. Tasha. I'm just going to quickly say it's really great to hear your background and to hear it from you, what you've been doing and how you're going to bring in what you're doing to your new role. And I'm sure a lot of people here think the same. I do have some questions that have come through, and I'd just like to say to everybody, this is casual as we can be, so please feel free to ask your questions either in person, put up your hand, or in the chat. I'll be mediating the chat. Jennifer will also be asking some questions. So I will take it to the floor, and please let us know if you have any questions. And Jennifer, over to you if you do, and I will step in as and when. Should we start with Tom? I think Tom has a couple of questions.
Thanks. First to Miss Jennifer, as you introed her, I have no idea if you foresaw 20 years ago, Jennifer, the shift in the Caymanian community in the UK that has occurred. we're now at the point where almost the default option for people leaving high school in Cayman for university is the UK now. It's no longer Florida or the southern US. And we now have, including our community that tends to meet every Wednesday at 5 o'clock UK, you're welcome to join us all, a huge number of people who are building their lives and careers here, including Dr. Paramlal, who is a consultant with the NHS, who's talking to us next week. So I think there's a shift that the previous representative, Andre Ebanks, was beginning to take on board, which I think might be informative to our new representative. And welcome, Dr. Tasha. Is when I heard you introduce what you were initially seeing your role as might be before you've met people and done a fact find, one was kind of representing Cayman in the UK, etc. And it was, what can I do for the Caymanian community overseas? But really, I think there's a missing piece that we've been starting to develop the last couple of years, which is what can that community do for Cayman, right? So we have the Friends of Cayman group, which is largely ex-diplomats and business leaders. I see Tim Marsh is on here today. But actually, we've got hundreds of Caymanians in the UK now who are ambassadors for us and are at different levels, ages, and stages in their career. So we've created almost, if not by accident, this ability for people to live, work, and have full citizenship in the UK, to study at far less fees than top colleges in the US, has built quite a large community that has the ability to both represent us in the UK, way beyond the Friends of Cayman core group, but also, you know, what else can we do? What other knowledge and expertise can we share back to Cayman? So it was just more an observation and an acknowledgement and thanks to our host today, our previous representative. That's all.
Thank you, Tom. Jennifer.
Thank you, Tom. Yes, I think, yes, the home fees for students was really a game changer, because they did make a huge difference to, you know, the cost of studying, and of course with our UK passports, the ease as well. So that is something, and you're quite right. A lot of people, when deciding to leave Cayman, a lot of Caymanians of all walks of life, I'm sometimes surprised to see the people that I run into or learn that, you know, have moved to the UK. So it is a wide variety of people, and it will be, I think, Dr. Tasha, quite a challenge to reach some of these people. So it you know, of course, Cayman Connection is good start, but the official office is going to be a key in this as well. Thank you, Tom. Anyone else? Something pressing to say or ask right now?
Okay, well, I'll hold my hand up if I can say a few words. It's nothing sort of super pressing or whatever, but I'd like to say very warm welcome to Dr. Tasha, especially when she arrives here. I'm glad to see that she's got her dates right, and she didn't do anything as stupid as I did when I first went to Cayman, because I arrived en route to Cayman in Miami on July the 5th. And I couldn't understand why everybody in America seemed to be drunk. So at least she's got better dates for traveling and things like that. As Tom said, I'm a member of the Friends of Cayman. We diligently apply ourselves to try and make a difference. Tom keeps us on the straight and narrow. There was one thing, or a couple of things, that Dr. Tasha said, working from a collaborative point of view, and also having to shatter silos. And those were the nicest words I heard, because having sat down under guidance from Andre to try and come up with something on the environmental side to say that might help the government, things that came up immediately were the need to collaborate and possibly shatter silos. So this only bodes well for us. So welcome, and that's all I've got to say. It'd be a pleasure to meet you. And Jennifer, you look just as lovely as you always did.
You're very sweet. Thank you. Thank you for that, Tim. Anthony, are you going to share something with us? Or are you just waving? You're on mute, Anthony.
He's just waiting.
Sorry, I just want to add to
He's
something
just
that Tim said, and thank you, Tim, for your comments. One of the things in meeting with chief officers, and we're awaiting, hopefully we'll have this week, the government's broad outcomes, is really being clear on the government's agenda in the different areas we're supporting on. So the environment, financial services, because until we have that strategic steer from them, it's hard for us through Friends of Cayman, through the London office, through CIGO-UK to be able to help contribute to that. So we need that strategic level steer and direction, and then we can then look at programs, projects, initiative, work that we can do that contributes to that. So that's the other goal that I have, you know, by the time I get there, is to be really clear, particularly around the policy areas that we are already set up to support on, like the environment and like financial services, so that we know how do we plug in. So we'll speak more on that as we start talking about the work that Friends of Cayman is going to be delivering. So yeah.
Dr. Tasha, there's one thing that I don't think we've mentioned yet, and that is basically advocating for Cayman in the Houses of Parliament through our all-party parliamentary group, you know, on the floor of the House itself if necessary. So I'm just wondering whether you sort of have any guidelines or thoughts on that aspect. I don't know what's happening now, for example, with party conferences, that they were a big part, you know, a whole week or 3 weeks in a row actually of that sort of work with Parliament. I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on that area for now.
Yeah, so interesting you asked, because I did ask Charles, the deputy representative. He just sent me this morning a briefing paper on the party conferences, so that we can really look at what is our role and how are we going to participate, and what is the value proposition for us to be involved, and how do we make best use of that. So I haven't had a chance to look at the paper, but I saw it did come into my inbox this morning. So that is something that we are looking at. I do know that the current Speaker of the House is very much a friend of the OTs and is welcoming to the OTs. Yep. So looking definitely to leverage that relationship and make a connection with him, you know, when I get there, and yeah, so those are some of the things that we are looking at as well, and seeing how we can be strategic and making alignments, and, you know, ensuring that we are part of that stage.
Absolutely. Well, that's good. Lindsay Hoyle, the speaker, and also the deputy speaker, Eleanor Lang, they are both. They were very, very active as the all-party parliamentary group. I think Lindsay might have even been one of the founding members. So they are very, I know they would be very open to meeting you. And it's a thought actually, Kate, that we might try to get them on one of these calls. That would be quite good for them to, you know, see the interest and see the Cayman connection in the UK. So or around the world. So that might be a thought, but I know they'll both be. And another good person, well, we can talk about this, I suppose, you and I as well, but Graham Brady, who is the head of that 1922 committee, he is also a very key figure that I'm sure will be. I brought them all to Cayman. They all know about us, and yeah, we have some contacts in Scotland and stuff as well we can talk about later. So that's very, very good to hear, and thank you for that.
See, we had a question from Mark Parmalal, who's on the call, who's actually joining us next week. Glad you could join us here again.
Thank you. It wasn't a question, just a quick comment. I just wanted to say welcome to Tasha. And also it was nice seeing Mrs. Dilbert. And I fondly remember those days when you were here and visiting you and Kate in the office. And I think the office definitely was a good beacon for Caymanian students that were studying here in the UK at that time, and I'm sure Tasha will continue that very strong, impressive tradition. So look forward to meeting you when you can.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
And not only the office, Tasha, I have to warn you that my house was sort of a stop for some people as well, and we did have people arriving with no accommodations and getting stuck on transfers and all that. So hopefully you'll have a spare room, because it's
Tasha.
Well, as it happens, I do have a spare room, so I guess now I know what it was for.
Right.
We'll be knocking at your door now. Jennifer, what have you done? Brilliant. Just noting a comment here from Kimberly. Thank you, Kimberly. She's apologizing. She's listening at work, but can't really engage verbally. She just wanted to wish Dr. Garcia all the best as you embark on your 5-year journey. She's just moved.
Thank you.
It's empowering and most admirable to see you make this transition, not just as a Caymanian, but as a woman. And we have no doubt that you'll do a phenomenal job. So thank you.
Thank you.
And a congrats on your role from Sangeeta. Thank you, Sangeeta. Sangeeta would love to hear more about the new Sustainability and Climate Resiliency Ministry and is happy to share any insights from the work that she's doing in this space. Sangeeta works for the City of London. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sangeeta.
Hi, no, hello everyone. I just put that in there because I'd had conversations with Andre Banks about this. So yeah, looking forward to continuing that and just seeing where I can try and help join some dots in some of the work I'm doing. So it'd be great just to explore that, because I definitely think the relationship, there's a lot to be explored, and it's quite interesting to hear how there is a much closer connection with the UK. I've only been to the Cayman Islands once, but it really does feel there's a lot of love for the UK there. So I'm glad to see that there's a burgeoning community here where people are coming here to study, etc.
Yeah. So I can say with the new ministry, it's the chief officer, Jennifer, and I actually spoke to her last night to check in to see how things were going, and she's very, very busy. As one can imagine, setting up a new ministry that has no staff and trying to pull together staff, pull together budget, but also to look across the government to identify and unpick all of the work that's being done around sustainability and the environment, and look at what her ministry is then going to be delivering and how they're going to support what we've kind of agreed going forward. Because I mean, right now, as you can imagine, she's a bit overwhelmed and very busy, and certainly is the right person for this job. Is we've agreed monthly calls with the London office so that we can be kept abreast of what they're doing, what's going on in terms of projects, initiatives, agendas, focus. And then that way, out of that, look to see where we can contribute and where we can assist, either with creating opportunities for unique engagements for the Cayman Islands government with resources, persons, entities in the UK and around Europe, or how we can support more directly in some of that work. So certainly I'd appreciate if you would reach out to me privately. I think through Kate, you can get my email address so that we can connect and talk offline to see how you can connect with some of the work that's happening in that space.
It's a very exciting time. I mean, I'm sure everyone's very excited on the island with the new administration and what you can achieve. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens.
Perfect.
So I did have a couple of questions that came in before, and anyone can shout when there's a pause. But obviously, having heard about your background and your extensive background across a range of policy areas, you're used to policy questions. I'm looking at these and thinking they're policy questions. But one question handed in prior to the meeting was about a CIG position that Cayman couldn't trust vaccination records from the sources other than the HSA in terms of waiving the need for PCR tests on arrival. The question is around, given the high number of Caymanians who now have both vaccinations from the NHS in the UK and have a digitally certified copy of that record on an NHS app, is there any indication as to when Cayman might accept the NHS records as meaning that you don't have to have a PCR test to go to the...
Yeah, so just in terms of not trusting other tests, it wasn't so much that we don't trust other tests, it's that because right now there is no clear standard for vaccine documentation. So 5 of us vaccinated from 5 different places will have cards that look different, that have different evidence of authenticity on it, and there isn't a global standard around authenticity for those cards, and so it leaves room for fraud, certainly. And so when the government changed the policy to reduce the quarantine period for persons who are quarantining, as part of kind of a phased approach to doing this, the first step they took was to say, okay, those persons who are vaccinated by HSA, because we can verify, we know what the cards look like, we know what an authentic HSA vaccination card looks like, we'll accept those as the first group of persons that can quarantine for a reduced period, having been vaccinated. And so that's quarantining for 10 days and you test on day 11. With, fully expecting advances in terms of digital health cards and digital vaccine evidence, the government is looking now, as they look at continuing the phased reopening of our borders, looking at other evidence that they will accept in terms of reducing quarantine because you're vaccinated. And certainly our computer services department has had on their radar and has been engaged in work in keeping abreast of the changes in the digital world around this. I see Tom is showing his.
The next one can be the UK one, maybe.
The simple point is you're being overly a diplomat here. This is a great example how Cayman could work with the UK. It's the work of moments to connect to the NHS and go, this is digitally accredited, we can accept this.
Yeah, and so those are the conversations that are happening now. Those weren't the conversations that could have happened when they initially reduced the border because it was still a little bit premature and things were still in motion. So we wanted to be able to reduce quarantine, with what we could, demonstrate in terms of still remaining safe and ensuring that we could ensure that those who profess to be vaccinated were in fact vaccinated. So the conversation, evolves. I mean, the entire situation from a policy perspective around COVID is very fluid, and it's, as things change, the government then has its sights set on those changes and is being informed by them. So there is, I understand, a press conference today. I'm not sure what the agenda of the press conference is, but quite possibly it could be information, on the borders and any changes to the border policy.
Absolutely, that's a good
I
point.
suppose also a part of that, Dr. Tasha, is this whole issue of, Cayman still being on the amber list for the UK, which I know the governor has been explaining why and all that and saying it's disappointed. I'm more than disappointed about the whole thing. I'm more annoyed. But anyway, hopefully, your background is perfect to get us out of that. So I'm sure that's one of the things that you'll be working on the ground.
Yes, definitely.
Lovely. To say we have some notes here. We have a note from Claudia, attending her first meeting. Welcome. I hope you'll attend many, many more now. So thank you for offering your assistance in any way. Claudia's offering to help with Cayman Connection and the Government Office where necessary, and also to learn about Friends of Cayman. So thank you, Claudia, for joining. You did actually send a question in earlier as well, so it's a good segue to that. This is one that I could speak on for probably 4 or 5 days or weeks, and I love it. So I'll pass over to Tasha about what kind of support we offer Caymanians, and does this support include Caymanians living in Europe as well?
Okay, so support, is anything more narrow or just support in its broadest sense? Is that the request in terms of what kind of support in its broadest sense?
So Claudia, so did you mean support broadly? Do you mean support from Cayman Connection or from the government, or both?
Yes, yeah, the question is very general. I was wondering if perhaps your role, and apologies that I'm just now understanding more about it, but with 2 kids in the UK or one now moving to Europe, I'd like to know, is your role also similar to what a consulate would offer to other citizens from other countries in terms of, I don't know, lost passports or sickness or another lockdown or who knows? So a very broad question, I'm afraid. Yeah.
So definitely we've got kind of 3 key outputs or areas of deliverables. One of those is consular services. So we have an assistant rep that focuses on consular services, and right now she's very much focused on supporting individuals who are traveling, particularly right now we've got students coming home, so assisting with students coming home. I got a call from her this morning. She was working with a couple of travelers that were at the airport our last night, you're very early in the morning, who were having trouble getting on the BA flight, and she was working to get them on, and pleased to report that everybody that had trouble at the BA counter this morning that we're aware of was able to get on a flight. So she was able to work some magic and make sure everybody that was getting home today got on that flight. But yeah, she is so that post assists with if somebody's lost their passport, if they need visas, if there's any kind of challenges with any member of our community in the UK. In terms of Europe, certainly, any Caymanian anywhere, if they call the London office, we will certainly not tell them they have to call somebody else, or we don't deal with their jurisdiction. So certainly anybody that calls, we will assist. And if it's not us directly, we will connect them with the person that can help. There is a new representative for Brussels. So there will be an office in Brussels and a representative for Brussels that will work with the EU and that will support in Europe. But certainly our office being very established, we are there to help Caymanians wherever they are, really. In terms of the other work that the office does, because while the office initially was set up for the purpose of consular services and really grew out of that need and became, you know, as Ms. Jennifer said, kind of that beacon for Caymanians and those who love the Cayman Islands in the UK and in Europe, we've also then expanded the services over the years that the office provides. So it also provides representational duties, international relations and promotion. So really kind of sharing and then sometimes correcting the narrative of the Cayman Islands and supporting as an extension of the government in the United Kingdom, and then also support with policy advice and ministerial servicing, as I talked about earlier, kind of being an extension of ministries in the UK and assisting the government with, you know, facilitating unique opportunities for our government, for our community and our people within the United Kingdom. You know, arranging meetings, conferences, functions, official visits. So it's kind of a very, very broad remit, but certainly, you know, going back to the heart of why we exist and why we were established, it's those consular services and supporting our Cayman community abroad.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I wanted to add, Dr. Tasha, that I think I'm losing people. I just wanted to add, Dr. Tasha, that I think that the fact that you have such a strong policy background is just wonderful, because I think what you will find is when you add the practicalities to your policy background, it will just help a lot. And take, for example, prisons. One of the things that I did, for better or for worse, when I was in the UK, was visit our prisoners at prison, right? And you know, when the time comes that that's possible again, I think you'll find some amazing insights. I mean, having worked with OTs and all that, to actually go there and visit our Caymanian prisoners and find out the sort of issues that they're having will just be invaluable. And that's going to go for everything. I mean, often the only time I hear from someone or even know that they were in Cayman was exactly that. They lost the passport, right? And I think, hands-on, these sort of experiences with your policy background will just really help us to do a really great job of supporting those people. So again, congrats and thank you.
Thank you.
So if I may, just going back to the background of, you've talked a lot about being Deputy Chief Officer in the Ministry of Education, Employment, Gender Affairs, obviously very relevant in the policy areas. What I don't think you talked about was being host for Cayman 27's Daybreak, and later on focusing on national issues, and being the host and producer of Cayman 27 live television talk show, Let's Talk to the Experts, and the fact that you were a former therapist at the Wellness Centre, working with at-risk youth and facilitating the Passport to Success program, which is one that has done really well, and actually we'd like to connect more to, but I'll take that offline with you. Your background in the media, how do you see that as helping and assisting your role here in London? There's obviously previously a lot of talk about financial services, talk about political engagement. Talk to us about how you think this could help you in your new role.
Yeah, so I'm certainly one that believes in working your strengths, and television and that background, having produced and been an on-air talent is certainly, I'd like to think, a strength of mine. And so one of the projects that we're working on that will have the filming done before I leave is doing some feature pieces on the Cayman Islands. So moving away from financial services, moving away from tourism, but exposing the world to Cayman outside of those spaces. So tomorrow, we're looking at, before I leave, filming 5 or 6, shooting for 5 or 6 short videos. So looking at 2.5 to 3 minutes for each video, and focusing on other areas of our country to kind of expand the narrative of who we are as Caymanians, as the Cayman Islands. So tomorrow, actually, I'm up at the Botanic Park, the wild banana orchid. This is probably the last week that it will be in bloom until this time next year. So we're doing a piece on the wild banana orchid, our national flower, doing a piece on the culinary arts, looking at traditional food in our grandmother's kitchen to fine dining, and Caymanian food kind of crossing the barrier into fine dining, doing a piece on music, and of course Swanky Kitchen Band, the National Gallery, looking at one or more of the exhibits that they have on now and doing a piece on the art. So really kind of showcasing the Cayman Islands outside and in spaces and places where people don't know about, and they don't know that we have such a rich culture and history, and that we are financial services and tourism, but we are also so much more. And to share that message and to connect with people through sharing kind of the stories of the other pieces of who we are, the other pieces of our identity. So we're looking to get all the filming done before I leave, and then the editing can be done over the summer so that we can start having pieces that we can share come September. So that's one way that I'm looking at using it. And Kate, I'm sure you'll have some other ideas when I get to the other side on how we might use that background.
That's great. Yeah,
That's very exciting, Dr. Tasha. Just offering that Leonard and I are both obviously working a lot on heritage and culture, along with the new government as well, and of course with the National Gallery. So anything we can do, anything we can offer on that front, we'd be happy to sit down with you on Zoom probably, but that's life. Okay, thank you. Sorry, Kate.
Sherry, I wanted to say something.
Hi, no, I don't have any questions. I'll have lots of probing questions probably in the weeks and months to come. But first of all, congratulations to Tasha. I think she's actually, all of her previous experience and everything that she's done has made it perfect for this role. But it's also so good to see this. I mean, I remember, and I could probably say it was 50 years ago when I was in school in the UK, and we didn't even have a telephone or ways to communicate even back to our families in Cayman. So this is absolutely wonderful. And for all the students that are on the call, you're very, very lucky to have this resource. And then for all of the other ones that you're not students so much, but as professionals, I think it's just great for you to be able to contribute to your time and go out and help other young Caymanians and other Caymanians to get together and really share our culture over in the UK and in Europe. And so I just think this is a wonderful initiative. So well done, Kate, and your team, for bringing this forward. I know it's been a long time in happening. I remember, I think at one time, my daughter Melanie was going to help you out, I think at one time. But it's been absolutely a wonderful initiative. And Tasha, just good luck to you. As SEPA, we're here to sort of help you out in any way that we can. And and good luck. And it's just so great to see, King, good to see you, and Giovanni and Zoe, and who is the other one that I saw? She's gone now, I think. Anyway, it's just so great, and Tom and everybody else that's over there, and Duncan, hello. I haven't seen you in about 10 years or more, but everyone, just congratulations. It's a wonderful initiative, and I hope that we can encourage lots of the other younger Caymanians to participate, and also the the professionals that are over there working is to get involved. So thanks.
Thank you so much, Sherry. And it's just wonderful to see you here, because we know that you are an amazing resource in Cayman. So you can probably expect to hear from me. Well, I'll see you anyway, but we sit on boards together already. So, I'm sure she'll be able to help us out a lot with Cayman Connection and branching out, and from the sort of corporate side of things, which is our next big job. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. I think, you've made a good point about the different kinds of people here. And you've also said something that I hear almost every time we have a new person on the call. It's always, I can't believe that I haven't been to these calls before, or I didn't realize this was happening, or this is so great, I've seen so-and-so, and look, there's so-and-so. And it's been so heartwarming over this last 18 months from starting in March. We started with Tom in March 2020, and we've had a virtual yard call every week except for 3 weeks. We took a break in August last year, but we've had a Zoom call every single week since March 2020. And the people that have been on and the people that we've met all say the same thing. This is fantastic. but they also will say, I wish I knew, or I wish more people were on. And I think that's where we can all help each other now. Tell your friends, tell your associates that this is an opportunity. Also, I think people think, well, oh, I thought it was for students, or I thought it was just for professionals, or I thought it wasn't for me. And that's another thing I'm hearing as well. So it's for all of us, it's for everyone. And it is an opportunity to meet, to chat. And we do have various different themes. It's been so fantastic. It is fantastic now to be talking to Dr. Tasha, and get to talk to Dr. Paramalal next week. We also have just very casual, no speakers, come along, bring yourself, bring your troubles, bring your passions, and come and chat and chat to people from Cayman and feel a little bit at home. So I would just say thank you, Sherry, for pointing that out, and please do let people know that this is here and this is welcome. And I see Department of Tourism on here as well, which is great, who are also keen supporters and involved in many ways in offering Cayman Connection lots of exciting things that are coming up.
Yeah, Kate, I'd just like to say a quick hi to Dr. Tasha, because as I'm working with the Department of Tourism, we'll hopefully catch up with you in the office in Dover Street later part of July. So looking forward to seeing you in person then.
Oh, excellent. Looking forward to it.
Thanks.
Is there anyone
I do have one question for Dr. Tasha in case she has to leave us, and that is, how can we as Cayman Connection help you? You know, so just if you think about that and see where we can really fit into to what you have in mind for your vision for the office.
Yeah, and I think once we get the broad outcomes from the government, once we've had, connected with the chief officers and gotten clarity on the agenda as it relates to the United Kingdom and their particular policy areas. And then we can take all of that and then look at, well, what is it that we can deliver across our various groups, whether it's Cayman Connection, Friends of Cayman, through the APPG, through UCATA, through the London office. And how can we then deliver on those objectives, on those outcomes that they're looking to achieve. And so certainly, over the next few weeks and certainly when I get to the UK, looking at having those conversations and being really clear on how we can all contribute and what that looks like. So thank you for the
Great.
offer.
Thank you.
Do we have anything from our regional manager, Rita, perhaps? Wanting to say welcome, I think she did.
Hello, Dr. Tasha. Thanks for joining us. So happy to see you. Really, really happy. Congratulations. I am interested in learning more about the plans for a large-scale event focusing on Cayman here in the UK. Cayman Day has been on my mind for a little bit, and I just wondered if you could share anything that you do know at this time about this event. Yeah, so we've been working towards the London office and Cayman Connection, looking at having a Cayman Day event, and we were hoping to have one in July, but with the recent announcement of the extension of phase 4, we thought it was best to kind of not have it in July and put it off for a little bit. So we're looking at a date, and Kate, correct me if I'm wrong, at the end of September. We're looking at a date then. So it's a family-friendly event, post-lockdown. Let's get together and hopefully we can hug by then. If not, fist bump, but at least fist bump in person. So the plans are coming together for sure. Okay, so I think Cayman Connection can certainly assist, and we want to make it as authentic as possible, right? So we'd love to have everyone on this call and more attend this event. So we can't wait to hear about what it's going to be like, but certainly we would love to help shape it. So perfect. Thank you. Thank you. And Tom said that cautious hugging is allowed in the UK, so we will cautiously hug each other at Cayman Day.
Yeah, we were looking at the 18th of September. The weather starts to change a little bit in September, so we're going to hope for the best. But we also hope that might then include students that are coming over for university as well, those who were in the Cayman Islands hopefully that'll help. Yeah, just a really casual get together after a tough couple of years of not being able to see each other. It would be really, really wonderful. So fingers crossed for that. And not only that, but to make it an annual event. We hope we can persuade
Can I come? I want to come.
You must come. We'll fly you over.
Me too, Jennifer. We can plan a trip
Yes.
ourselves.
We did. We had a similar one at Kate Pub. Kate, where was it? In Littleton or something?
Oh yes, we did. A pub.
Yeah, we did.
We did. We got a lot of Cayman people together at a pub.
We did.
We've forgotten about that.
And we realized we didn't have a flag to take our picture in front of. So we used one of those Cayman Islands beach towels, and I still have the photo, and we held it up. And so that was it. That was all the Cayman people connections we could get together to come and
right, I'd forgotten
and
that.
have that event. Remember that event? Yeah.
Some of those photographs, because actually King sent me some photographs of the first ever Cayman Connection event at one of the universities back in, oh my gosh, long time now. And we did a Pirates Week event at Keele University. And we should dig out those photographs because it's a good reminder of all these things that we can do.
Right.
Oh, fun. So we have a few more messages, lots of welcomes to you, Dr. Tasha, and really happy to have you on board, leading the charge and looking forward to you being in the UK. We are coming close to close, and I do understand that some people have to leave. But I have a couple of other little snippets just before we leave. Talking about Notting Hill Carnival, perhaps, is one thing that's been talked about over the years, trying to get involved in Notting Hill Carnival.
While you're reading those, Kate, if I might just say, welcome, Dr. Tasha. I very much look forward to having you in the office with us all. And in relation to the Cayman Day, tourism, we would absolutely love such an event and obviously to be a part of it. So I'm really looking forward to hearing about that and getting involved with you in that as probably the first collective event that we will all be involved in when you're over. So that's fantastic.
Thanks, Vicky. And I hear lovely things about you. So looking forward to meeting you in person.
Oh gosh, I've got something to live up to.
She's famous.
Vicky is
nice to meet you,
practically part of
Tasha.
the furniture.
Yes, you're right, Jennifer. I think I've become
Yes.
too much part
She's
of the
been there
furniture.
forever, yes. And a reminder as well, actually, and I'm sure this is on the agenda, but connecting with the shipping and the aviation offices as well, because we did have a good synergy with them, and I think they're still very present. So
yes,
it's a good point, Jennifer.
Be pitching to them, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Because
pitching to them for, yeah.
We still have Tamara, of course, in our office in London. So we are 3 departments, and yeah, we mustn't forget that.
We have a couple of minutes. We have a message from Duncan Taylor. Firstly, I'd like to say, so fabulous you could make it. It was lovely to see you and your name here. It's been a long time, so thank you for making it. And he says, great event, lovely to see everybody, and congratulations, Tasha. We hope to see you soon. So thank you so much, Duncan, for being here with us. That was quite a surprise and a joy. Hope to see you again soon.
Just a quick welcome, Dr. Tasha, and enjoy.
Thank you.
And from Glenda, thank you for the event, and congratulations, Dr. Tasha. Your support for our students overseas is extremely valuable, so thank you. So, if there is any other questions, comments, I will leave a moment for anyone to shout.
Welcome home, Zoe. I see she's coming through, but I know she's here. So, yeah, I want to say that it's just wonderful to see how many participants we had today, because it's a serious event too, right? I know we get participants for rundown and other fun stuff like that, but it's really good that all of you could join us, and it's just extremely exciting, and I look forward to. We really need to be offering this to more of our students around the world, in particular, Canada, US, Asia. So we are really looking forward from Cayman Connection to moving that forward.
Yeah. On that, just in the last minute, we did have a question also from Paula, who's over in the States, about the Washington office. No, that's not our jurisdiction, but just a question about that and the status of that, because obviously that affects the Caymanians over in the US. If you have some.
Yeah, Yeah, so the Washington office, so a rep and deputy rep have been appointed, and they're in the midst right now of getting that office set up and making arrangements to relocate to Washington. So that, while the London office sits under the Cabinet Office, that particular office sits under the Ministry of Investment, Innovation, and Social Development. So both the North America office as well as the Hong Kong office both sit under the Ministry of Investment, Innovation, and Social Development. The Brussels office, which has been, you may have heard, has been set up, and I'd mentioned that sits under the Ministry of Financial Services. So kind of all of the four offices are kind of sitting in different places, but all of the reps, we all have a very good relationship, and we've been doing an orientation together and building our relationship so that as the offices are established, we're all working together closely and again, positioning ourselves to collaborate and support. Paula, if you want offline, I'll connect you with the rep and the deputy rep.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. So we've reached the top of the clock. I've just had a couple of requests from our usual weekly virtual yard goers that they might want to hang on and have a little chat, the usual chat. So I'll turn off the recording now. For those that want to stay, please do stay and have your usual virtual yard chat. To those who haven't been to that before, feel free to stay. But if you need to head on and get back to work or get back to whatever it is you're doing, please feel free. I just want to say a massive thank you, Dr. Tasha, for coming on and letting us welcome you and ask you our questions. And thank you, Jennifer, for being fabulous as always as well. Hosting and taking Cayman Connection forward both in the Cayman Islands and beyond. Thank you so much. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Kate.
Thanks, Kate.